From the rolling valleys, across rivers and lakes, to the highest mountains. Adventure takes preparation and research. Plan your next journey of discovery for what's to come. The last area that I want to have a look at for risk assessment is skill set. I think we've all been in that situation where we've bitten off a little more than we can chew. Your skill set and your responsibility to, one, make sure that your skill set is up to date, regardless of where you're going, and to make sure that your skill set is appropriate and sufficient for the task that you're going to undertake. The reasons for that are twofold. One of them is you don't want to die or be injured, which kind of stands to reason. The other one is that you will put a responsibility of risk onto another individual if you take yourself into an environment or into a situation which is above your pay grade or beyond your skill set. I think everyone's read in the news about climbers that they find with inappropriate equipment, inappropriate dress, and everyone tuts. And quite rightly so with that. But it's actually an easier thing to do if you're not continually checking yourself to overstep your boundary. You can get caught up in the moment. There may be a lot of pressure from sponsors if you're being sponsored. And when I say sponsors, I mean people who are sponsoring you to do the trip from an equipment point of view, from a corporate point of view. There may be pressure from people who are sponsoring you for charity, and you have this obligation that you have to finish. None of these people want you to be injured, and none of these people want you to die on your expedition. The corporate sponsorship definitely does not look good if their name's attached to something like that, and definitely your friends and family don't want you to put yourself in harm's way. So it's really important to keep on checking yourself. You've always got the option to turn around. And turn around doesn't always mean failing. Turning around can mean taking 2 steps back, reassessing, maybe reconsidering all of those risk assessment factors that we've already been through, looking at the environment, looking at the weather, coming up with a plan B, and then just changing and moving the goalpost a little bit so you can still achieve your aim, but maybe in a slightly different way that you thought you were going to in the first place. Updating your skill set, having that sense of responsibility to your own safety and the safety of those around you, and a responsibility for those who may have to come and rescue you if you do get into trouble, is the final thing that I look at. Just as a word, I mentioned it earlier on, but risk assessment is dynamic. And when I say dynamic, in other words, you never do it just at the front end. You're always doing it continually from the beginning of your journey all the way to the end of the journey. Every day as I'm moving through from waypoint to waypoint, from place to place, I'm checking the environment, I'm reassessing the weather, I'm aware of the social situation and maintaining a situational awareness around me if appropriate to make sure that I'm not at risk or things aren't changing that I need to keep consideration of. And I'm constantly checking myself. How are you doing? How are you feeling? Are you coping? Are you up for this? Can you do this? Especially if things go wrong or things have to change, you have to reset the bar and then just keep looking at everything and say, I've got to be honest with myself. I've got to hold the mirror up. Yep. Because you're preparing for success. Yet nobody wants to prepare for failure. And at the end of the day, we want to come away with a really, really, really good story. That's not to say that you can't take a few risks. Now, paraphrasing slightly, there is a bit of a saying that, the worst journeys contain the best stories. But you have a judgment on the ground as to how far to that line you're pushing it, and how far past the line or how close to the line you can push it, and that comes from experience. So definitely at the front end, I would say give yourself a wide margin for error. Maybe as you've done a few more trips and you get a bit more experienced, you might want to push the envelope a little bit more, but always bear those factors in mind.